Hi everyone, due to some circumstances, I'm going to be the voice in today's video. Thanks for your understanding. If you've seen superhero movies or read comic books, you'll find the following story familiar. After an accident, the hero wakes up with unexpected abilities. For example, the ability to climb walls, shoot spiderwebs, and wear a tight red and blue suit in any weather. These stories seem to be just the product of someone's imagination, but sometimes this can happen in real life too. And although the people of our video today don't know how to control electricity or run incredibly fast, they do have special talents, all thanks to different accidents that completely changed their lives. So, who are these people with special talents? You're about to find out. Let's get it on. Jason Paget. Jason used to be an ordinary guy. He liked partying, drinking, hooking up. He was absolutely convinced that math was a useless science that couldn't be used in real life, and he didn't even doubt that. But on the Friday evening of September 13th, 2002, everything changed. Paget was hanging out next to a karaoke bar with his friends when he was attacked. Two unknown persons hit him on the head from behind and robbed him. At the hospital, he was diagnosed with a concussion, but when he came home, he realized there was something wrong with him. Jason's whole world suddenly became pixelated, like an old-school computer game. As he saw the world around him changing, Jason started thinking about serious questions about math and physics. He read about fractals on the internet, studied the subject, and it all suddenly seemed oddly familiar. It's a complex concept, but we're going to try to explain it using a snowflake as an example. When you zoom in, you see that it's made up of smaller snowflakes. Zoom in more, and you see even smaller snowflakes, and so on infinitely. That's what Paget started drawing. I literally had 1,000 or more drawings of circles, fractals, every shape that I could manage to draw. It was the only way I could manage to communicate effectively what I was seeing, he confessed. Eventually, Jason began to literally visualize mathematical formulas and evolved from a simpleton into a genius. His brain was scanned at the Aalto University in Helsinki, and researchers found that Paget had access to parts of the brain that ordinary people don't. In addition, his visual cortex works in conjunction with the part of the brain that makes mathematical calculations. Paget was diagnosed with acquired savant syndrome. This is a rare condition in which someone displays outstanding abilities in one or more fields of knowledge, standing out from the rest. Today, Jason still lives in a mathematical world and has no idea how he used to live without this knowledge. Derek Amato. Is it possible to dive into a pool and rise as a genius? We don't want you to test this theory because what happened to Derek Amato is pretty rare. At the age of 39, Derek dove into a shallow pool and hit his head. The result was a severe concussion and 35% hearing loss. Maximum unpleasant consequences. But along with the concussion, he acquired a strange gift. He began to see music. In his own words, music suddenly filled his head, and he started to see black and white squares, which reminded him of piano keys. Yes, he hit his head really hard. Even though Derek played guitar before the incident, his musical skills suddenly increased to such an extent that he was able to compose music for piano. And play it, of course, although he had never studied it. The guy was diagnosed with synesthesia. It is a special form of perception when certain conditions, phenomena, concepts, and symbols suddenly receive additional qualities such as color, smell, or sound. It sounds a little terrifying, but that very unsuccessful dive into the pool turned Derek Amato into a successful composer and famous pianist. Lee Ersig. For most of her life, Lee was passionate about racing and quad bikes. She never showed any interest in art or math. But in October 2009, she accidentally fell into a ravine and suffered serious brain and spinal cord injuries. Doctors weren't sure if she'd be able to walk again. This event turned Lee into another person, literally. She doesn't remember anything about her past life and does not even recognize her own mother.
I don't know.
But now she's a talented artist and poet. She likes spending time pondering complex mathematical equations. Besides, she can see sounds when she listens to music and hear colors. Although to common people, this seems like nonsense. In addition to memories, Lee has also lost the ability to feel emotion. Since then, she has learned to smile and laugh in response to social cues, but says she does not feel or understand this reaction. Her condition is so incredibly rare that it took numerous scientific studies and brain scans to diagnose her with the savant syndrome we've already mentioned. Alonzo Clemens. As a child, Clemens suffered a serious head injury, which changed his life forever. The accident left him with a developmental disability. With an IQ in the 40 to 50 range, he couldn't eat on his own or even tie his own shoelaces. But the injury had an odd side effect, a strange ability to mold surprisingly detailed animal figures from clay. Alonso began sculpting at school, where he sat silently on his desk in the back of the classroom, making tiny animals out of pieces of clay. When teachers took away the clay, he began scraping pieces of resin from the sidewalk around the school and working on sculptures at home at night. Today, Alonso Clemens is considered a great sculptor. He can take a quick look at any animal on TV, and in less than 20 minutes, he can make a beautiful, three-dimensional, and surprisingly accurate copy. Even if it's the first time he's seen this animal, Alonso mainly creates sculptures of horses, antelopes, and bulls. And if you ask him how he manages to achieve such speed and accuracy, Alonso will just smile and point at his head, because it was the accident that made him a genius. Orlando Searle. Getting hit in the head with a baseball is not a pleasant experience. Moreover, it may be dangerous. But Orlando Searle was lucky. He didn't have any special skills until August 17, 1979. At the age of 10, he got hit in the head with a baseball. The blow came from the left. Searle fell to the ground, but eventually got up and went on playing. He didn't get any medical care because he didn't tell his parents what had happened, like any 10-year-old boy would have done. Orlando suffered from severe headaches, but soon they disappeared, replaced by an incredible ability to perform calendar calculations of incredible complexity. He can also remember the weather, where he was, and what he did on any given day after the accident. In other words, the boy suddenly got a phenomenal memory. Soon the media took an interest in his unusual gift, followed by scientists who conducted a series of MRI tests on Searle. Unfortunately, the official website of the talented guy has no information about the results of these tests. Ben McMahon. Many people consider Chinese one of the most difficult languages to learn. All these complex hieroglyphs, different intonations. But Ben McMahon from Australia has a different opinion. After a car accident, he was in a coma for over a week. And when he woke up, suddenly, he spoke fluent Chinese to the nurse. Ben asked her for a piece of paper and a pen and wrote, "I love my mom, I love my dad, I will recover," in Chinese, obviously. His newfound skills were confusing to both doctors and his parents, who never knew Chinese. Ben didn't speak Chinese either, even though he used to learn it at school. But let's be honest, how much of what you learned at school can you remember as an adult if you never use it? It took Ben another 2 or 3 days to remember how to speak English. He didn't even realize he was speaking Chinese. After discovering his new abilities, Ben moved from Melbourne to Shanghai to study commerce at a local university. Tony Sikoria. Tony was a 42-year-old healthy, strong man when his life changed. Formerly an athlete and now a respected surgeon, Tony had never had a special interest in music. And in 1994, he called his mother from a payphone when he felt the storm approaching. Tony walked just one step away and he was hit by lightning. Tony's heart apparently stopped, but he was resuscitated by a woman who was waiting her turn to use the phone too. Lucky for him, she was a nurse. A few weeks after the accident, Tony visited a neurologist because he was having memory problems and felt sluggish. But the examinations showed nothing unusual, and soon Tony was able to get back to work. However, his story did not end there. A couple of days later, Tony suddenly felt a strong desire to listen to some piano music, although he had never loved it. Before that, Tony's favorite genre was rock and roll. But after the accident, the man suddenly started buying records of famous piano works and then music sheets. He suddenly wanted to play. Soon he started learning, but then he discovered a new passion. Tony started composing music. Tony Sikoria made his debut with his first piano composition in Westport, Connecticut on 12th of October 2007, and still continues to play and compose music today. Tommy McHugh. Tommy McHugh was a British artist and poet, but he's not famous for that. Or rather, not only thanks to that, but also because of how he got his talent. Back when he was young, McHugh wasn't too law-abiding and even went to prison. But as he grew older, he settled down, got married, and earned his living as a construction worker. His life would have been the most ordinary and even boring, but at the age of 51, he experienced a double aneurysm and a stroke. By the way, it was really unpoetic. He was on the toilet when it happened. McHugh felt a strong pain in the head and fell, losing consciousness. business. And when he came to his senses in the hospital, he realized that his life had changed completely. A week-long coma had awakened McHugh's desire to write poetry. In his own words, his head was full of rhymes and images and pictures. In addition, he began to draw and did it for 19 hours a day. Yes, we are talking about a man who worked as a builder and had never before experienced any passion for art. McHugh could paint 9 paintings at a time, and when he ran out of canvases, he would continue on the walls, floor, and ceiling. Unfortunately, Tommy McHugh died of cancer in 2012. Before he died, he said, "My 2 strokes have given me 11 years of magnificent adventure that nobody could have expected."
Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.